Hello, welcome to the discussions on UPSC Mains 2023 GS Paper 1. So, this is the session where I'll give you insights about how the paper was asked, what are the key things to identify, and further about understanding about what is the difficulty level of the paper. Without any wastage of time, let's start. So, we are analyzing the paper 1, GS Paper 1, which comprises of the subjects of geography, history, and art and culture. So we have the subjects of geography, history, which includes art and culture, world history, and all the sub-dimensions, and as well as the society part. So let's start. If you see the questions, you see the basic observations, the moment first time, what are the first impressions, initial impressions. The paper is moving on easy to medium, from easy towards medium and difficult. And what I'm trying to tell you is, if you divide the paper of all the papers questions into easy, medium, and difficulty level, over the years, you are seeing that the trend is moving towards the right side. That means easy questions are reducing and they are moving towards medium and difficult. So medium questions are increasing. So that is one observation I have said. And there are new themes of questions which are asked. Say one of the question in geography, they asked about a glacial landform by fjords. Fjords. Usually, UPSC optional students will prepare about that. Very few GS people will be preparing. So that's the thing. And most importantly is, what is UPSC expecting out of you? They need interlinking of various disciplines. Say, there is one of the question they asked about, bring out the socio-economic impacts of introduction of railways in different parts of the world. Now, the moment introduction of railways, this is geography, but they're actually asking from the perspective of world history. How there is a social impact and there is an economic impact. Social and economic. Then similarly, overall, we can say that we need deep critical thinking of the themes which we are learning, not a random study like anything. The more deep critical thinking you develop, then you will be able to answer. And a curious mind of the events observing around you is what we need to clear this paper. Okay. So these are the key observations. And if you see the trends, the subject-wise coverage, you can see that geography, we have around 8 questions. So there are around 8 questions in geography. So coverage around, we can say that 18, 10 marks around 4, 15 marks around 4, total of 100 marks, right? You can see society has been asked around 6 questions, art and culture 1, ancient medieval history 2, modern history 2, world history 1. We can say overall, the history, art and culture together, we can say that they are covering around 6 questions, society around 6. So you can say that this would be covering around 75 marks and this would be covering around 75 marks. Of course, you all know the divisions of art and culture and the history, it segregates into multiple things. One observation for this year, no post-independence. It's not like you have to ignore. Whatever you read from world history post-independence, it will be useful as part of your preparation for essay and all, right? Anyhow, they didn't ask about these things. So let us observe the difficulty nature and all the questions and all. So this is the typical coverage. 100 marks for geography, society 75, art and culture, history and various dimensions together 75. There are not much of a new major trends here, right? The similar thing is being continued. Then if you see geographical questions, very clearly, they're asking about some of the easier themes which we are regularly observing. So example, if you see the last few years question, freshwater resources, how there is a crisis of availability and access to freshwater resources. There is so much talk about water and all those kind of things. This is, I would consider this as an easy question because of the nature of coverage of availability of, say, the material, available coverage in terms of current affairs and observations of previous year questions trend. It is being frequently repeated. So I would not say that the why, and the question is also why there is a crisis of availability of access, availability as well, and access to water, fresh water resources. I think this is an easy question. Then similarly, identify and discuss the factors responsible for diversity of natural vegetation in India. So what is natural vegetation? What are the types of forest of India? Or how do you segregate the types of forest is what they're asking. Factors responsible for diversity of natural vegetation. So they're not asking types of forest. They're asking about the factors. It is very easy question. You are supposed to know about these things, and the significance of wildlife sanctuaries in the rainforest regions of India. Some kind of an application, but I expect you to answer such questions. Not difficult, static, easier to read, write. Then, from being net importer in 1960s of food, India has emerged as a net food exporter to the world. Provide reasons. We can say that the impact of Green Revolution. They're asking about the positive impacts of Green Revolution, and more or less, you will read Green Revolution. Such questions are very much asked. So I would say these three things are easily approachable relatively when compared with that. And when you compare about the geography medium questions, you see, discuss the consequences of climate change on the food security under tropical countries. Now, what is climate change, food security, impact on tropical countries? Very climate change as a topic is covered in various dimensions. This is the learnings. There is no way that you can ignore climate change. You have to learn in multiple dimensions about this topic. So I would expect that this is easy to medium only, not difficult, easy to medium. Then this is now this is an interesting question. Why is southwest monsoon called Purvaya, that is easterly in the Bhojpur region? And this is an aspect which even you can write, but this comes the problem. How has this directional seasonal wind system influenced the cultural ethos of the region? So you all know the southwest monsoon season is technically southwest, but we call it as easterly in Bhojpur region. Why? You all know it. If you have observed if you see this map, see, this is, you have, where do you have the Bhojpur region? It is part of Bihar and UP. You can see that this is the portion, Bihar and UP. Here you will find the Bhojpur region, and this is the Himalayas. So we all know that Bay of Bengal branch enters into northeast India, and along the foothills of the Himalayas, it will move towards the west. So technically for the Bhojpur region, the winds are coming from what? Eastern side. That's why they are called as easterly winds. So if you have observed the Bay of Bengal branch, it is there in NCERT itself. The Bay of Bengal branch, you can easily able to remember such kind of things if you observe. So that's why I kept it as a medium level, not as a easy or neither as a difficult level. And if you see this question, this part is easy. Then comes the problem. Influence the cultural ethos of the region. So you will be, unless and until you know about the Bhojpur region, the examples of the cultures, say in food, say in the dances, in the poems, all such kind of things, we cannot answer. Whereas people of that era can answer. That is the only difficulty. But the remaining all can be answered. Even the basic structure can be prepared if you apply your mind. That's what I told you. Whatever you read, whatever you learn, no more rote learning. You have to apply your brain. This is the way, the key thing. We'll discuss the answers. Don't worry. Tomorrow onwards, I will be writing the model answer about everything and I'll be sharing to you. Right. Then, similarly, comment on the resource potential of the long coastline of India. That means what are the economic resources? What are the natural resources? They didn't ask about economic, or they didn't ask only about economic. You can talk about natural resources, everything, and highlight the status of natural hazard preparedness in these areas. So you can talk about, simply, there is so much talk about blue economy. You can write about that, fisheries, tourism. Okay, you can talk about economic potential. You can talk about how the coastline can be used as a port or the accessibility of gateway centers to the world. That you can talk about the resources of agriculture, resources of minerals, opportunity of industries, whatnot. Right? So we'll discuss about that. I would say it's a easy, medium question. This is where the difficult questions of geography are there. Now fjords, these are, as I told you, glacial landforms. Very beautiful pictures are made. This is usually in Norway, you will see such kind of things. In other parts of the world as well, Norway, fjords. They're some of the beautiful places. Maybe if you have that curiosity, you might have learned about it. Otherwise, no. But even this is covered in NCERTs, glacials. But the thing is, how many of you read about the topic of landforms of glaciers? Maybe you will read about rivers. But how many of you have prepared for glaciers? That's why I have kept it as a difficult. Otherwise, the question is fairly easy. But some of the GS students might find it difficult. And similarly, another application question, critical thinking. How did human development, or why did human development could not keep pace with the economic development in India? For example, the regions of Chota Nagpur Plateau, how they have been developed into islands of poverty, or rather, in the how they have turned into the entire Chota Nagpur Plateau can be a big island of poverty. We can see that few areas of development are there, but over in the vast ocean. So we can say that there are islands of development in the vast ocean of poverty. That means the overall Chota Nagpur Plateau is very poor, but they have been certain areas where certain minerals are available, the industries are developed. You have seen some kind of structures there, right? So we'll discuss about the model answer. This is the difficult nature. Then when you see the society questions, you see now these are very interesting. This you can answer it. Do you think marriage as a sacrament in losing its value in modern India? Losing. Now this is another blunder from UPSC. Is it losing or lose? What are they asking? Okay, some kind of technical errors there. Then see here the technical thing. Do you think marriage is losing its relevance, or marriage as a sacred thing is losing its relevance? This is the tricky part here. Do you think marriage is losing relevance, or do you think marriage as a sacred thing is losing relevance? You can apply. You have heard about so many things, no? Solo marriages, okay, same sex marriages, or more, not just about same sex marriages. That is not the way you have to go here. You have to observe that individualistic nature, how it is being developing here, right? Earlier on days, marriage means mix of multiple families. It's a marriage of two. It is not just around the couple, but also about the understanding about the families. Nowadays, individualistic culture, such kind of things, right? Single child, or it's a single parent looking after the child, all such kind of things. So how it is losing? You can say that, do you think it is losing its value, or new trends are emerging? You can tell about all those kind of things. So you can write something about this. Similarly, and that too, many of you are of the same age, right? You observe such things curiously, you can write something about it. Then explain why suicide among young women is increasing in Indian society. Now, this is a thing. You have to understand why young women. You have to first know that suicide is more in young women. That many of you don't know. If you'll see that data, National Crime Record Bureau says that significant women, that too of the young age, are committing suicide. So you should know that facts, and then you can supplement some of the reasons. Reasons you can all know. Say young woman, you can say teenage expectations of, say from the exams that you can write, the marriage issues, the role of COVID-19, so many kind of things. We'll discuss that. Now, this is an interesting question. Third question. We all have seen children being under addicted by mobile phones. So how child cuddling is now being replaced by mobile phones, child cuddling, and how its impact on the socialization of children. See how we were grown and how the latest kids are growing up. You observe the events. You will see that they're more addicted to the phone and all, and child cuddling, which we used to do it. Some of you still it is being done, but how the emergence of mobile phones and how it is impact on the socialization. That's a very interesting question. Similarly, you can see caste identity, impact on post-liberal economy on ethnic identity, how are questions on urbanization and the impact on vulnerable sections of the population. Vulnerable sections, such questions are being asked, right? This is about the society. Society is fairly moving towards the difficult part, but If you apply, you can write something, right? There are so many easy questions here. Well, say for example, you can write something about this. You can write something about marriage decently, not easy, something decent, right? And when you see the art and culture, now once again, this is geography or what? Geographical factors toward the development of ancient India. So how Himalayas are controlled, how the role of Himalayas, the role of rivers. So I would say that this is also geography only. Huh? Okay, but ancient India, the context will vary. That you can see the role of geography. There is a straightforward chapter, no? Geographical impact of ancient India. Straightforward question. I would say it's an easy question, but applied, applied, not easy, static, applied. You have to apply certain logic here. You'll get to know new things, new content. Now, this is also almost like geography only, bringing out the socio effects, bring out the socio-economic effects of introduction of railways in different. They're not asking about the impact of railways. They're asking about the impact of railways after the introduction. So that is where it becomes world history. Otherwise, when you talk about the socio-economic effects of railways, if you see the bring out the socio-economic effects of railways in different countries of the world, then that would be static geography. Introduction, world history. So economic impact, this is one dimension, social impacts another dimension. So many of you will ignore social impact. Say Australia is a very classic case there. So you have the Perth, you have an Australia here, Kalguri gold mines, and then you have the big cities of Adelaide, Sydney, Melbourne, and all. So there is a railway line which is constructed here. Transport of raw materials, transport of these gold, minerals, and all used to happen more towards the eastern side. In terms of that, there were wide displacement of the aboriginals. Displacement of aboriginals. So this is the social impact. Whereas the economic impact, you can see there is more much amount of connectivity, trade increasing, opportunities of development, all such kind of things. So that is how the question you need to answer. The social as well as the economic aspects. Then ancient and medieval history, very straightforward question, features of Vedic society and religion and how their application in the present society, right? Then major technological changes introduced in the Sultanate period and how these technological changes influenced the Indian society back then. So this is about some of you don't prepare medieval history, you are caught hold here. Modern history, now this is a very interesting question. Difference between Mahatma Gandhi and Tagore in the approach towards education and nationalism. After a long back, question on Gandhi has been back, right? So you can see such kind of questions. It was asked in the past, the differences of opinion between Nehru and Gandhi, similarly about Gandhi and Subhash Chandra Bose, such kind of questions, the same trend. Similarly, and the tribals, colonial rule affect the tribals in India. What was the tribal response to the colonial oppression? That's also a very straightforward question which is being asked. Overall, I would say only one thing: develop critical mind, critical thinking. That's what UPSC is expecting out of you. The more you develop critical thinking, you are able to answer that kind of questions. And do join into my Telegram channel. You can find the link in the description below in the video. And for model answers, PDF and all, you can get into that Telegram channel for such things. Okay. Thank you for watching. Happy learnings.